one of the things that happens when members are out of session is they get an opportunity to just avoid the press, avoid any bad news, and stay away from the topics that are happening in the White House. And as soon as they return to Congress, they're going to be confronted by these numbers because they're so sharply changed from just a couple months ago. The generic Democrat is now a net 6-point swing ahead of Republicans from where they were in November. So that is a material issue. We have to look at about 39 House Republican seats that are open now and potentially gettable. And that's where they're going to be spending their time.
Billy House, venerable at Bloomberg, New Yorkers boo and jeer Republicans Lawler. It's circus-like town hall. That's the future of the GOP, isn't it?
I mean, that was pretty incredible. I actually posted this on an Instagram account talking about coming on here this morning. There's like a 15 bullet point rule list for Mike Lawler's town hall on how constituents should be expected to comport themselves during this meeting in order for him to even hold it. The blowback for Mike Lawler is pretty substantial right now. I'm sure you've seen that Elise Stefanik is polling ahead of him in the race for a national or a statewide race. And I think this really puts pressure on Lawler to get a maximum achievable deliverable on the SALT deduction. Y'all talk about it all the time. And it's because it's so important to New Yorkers. There's almost nothing that Mike Lawler can deliver on SALT that would be sufficient to overcome how negatively New Yorkers are going to think about it. And that's because if he does nothing, the SALT cap reverts back to its previous position of totally uncapped. So there's almost only failure here if he votes for any of the tax bills that are coming through. So it's a really tough spot for him to be in right now.
So speaking of the tax bill, the 2025 reconciliation bill, I guess they'll start work on it at some point very soon. But I mean, I think they need to cut like $2 trillion worth of federal spending. I don't know how you do that. What's the game plan there?
No, you're right to talk about that and look at the sequencing that they've set up. So they're going to do all of the dessert first. This week, there's going to be hearings at a couple of committees, but all of those committees are tasked with increasing the deficit. So, for example, $150 billion that the Armed Services Committee gets to spend, $100 billion that the Judiciary Committee gets to spend. This is where all the spending is going to go out on the popular stuff, like investing in the military or investing in immigration detention facilities and judges and things like that. The real heart of this bill, the $2 trillion in cuts that they're going to try to identify, the $4.5 trillion tax bill, 3.8 trillion of which is already spoken for through an extension of existing rates. That's all going to come late this month. I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm starting to telegraph to clients now, that could very easily slip past Speaker Johnson's already delayed expectation of a Memorial Day rollout. So the Ways and Means Committee is really where you want to concentrate your time. They're the ones who get all the money to raise and spend, they're not scheduled yet. It won't be probably until the very last week before Memorial Day that we see their efforts.
Bloomberg News reporting and others as well. Trump floats new income tax cut in bid to ease bite of tariffs. Is a new income tax cut possible, reasonable?
No, it's not. But I do appreciate that the president is acknowledging that the tax bill they're working on right now does not include cuts. We've walked through this math in the past, and I think it's really worth spending time on. This is a gigantic bill, $5.3 trillion of spending. But almost all of that is already allocated to things that have either expired at the end of this year or will have expired since 2022. So the main stimulative provisions of this package, I think, are going to be somewhere in the range of about $300 to $500 billion. That is not enough to eliminate the individual income tax for individuals under $200,000. And it's off by several $1 trillion. So it's not close. I think the best that you can hope for is that of that $300 to $500 billion that they're going to have to spend, you could either hike the SALT cap a little bit. You can try to eliminate taxes on tips, which does not have support in the United States Senate. You cannot come close to eliminating taxes on Social Security because that costs $1.8 trillion. But there's really just not a lot there.